Welcome to another episode of Devos with B. It's your girl Bethany, and as always, I am super excited to be here with y'all. Um, a few announcements that I have for you before we get started are tonight is devoted. It's at 7 o'clock. We're continuing our series with Pastor James. It's going to be awesome. There's going to be food, fellowship, games, so you don't want to miss out. Make sure you invite your friends. Again, it's at 7 o'clock. And just another reminder with that, we have devoted on the second and fourth Thursdays of the month, so you can always plug it in your calendar so you don't forget. That is going to be a great time. The second announcement is we do not have the hike this Saturday. It was originally planned, but due to potential rain, they are canceling it. I'm sure it will get rescheduled, so just be on the lookout. Excuse me if you hear any updates on that, but we are not having a hike this weekend, so it is canceled. So that is the next announcement. Um, the third one is we have church at 10 a.m. and we have it in person and we live stream it. So um, this is just a great way to meet people, but also be with the body of Christ and just be able to worship and hear a word and be able to apply it. If you're in the Bedminster area or Somerset County, or you're looking for a church within that area, we would love to have you. If you are already attending Grace and are looking for ways to serve, there's a lot of different ways. I'm going to name a few so that you know the different options. And if you are interested, email the church and they will help you, they'll direct you to the right person. So that you can get plugged in. So there's youth ministry, there's children's ministry, there's devoted, young adults. You can be a greeter, you can help with sound and projection, you can help out with worship, or help out set up bagels and coffee, or you can help out with the signs and parking outside. So those are just many different avenues that you can serve at Grace. Those are all the announcements I have for this week. Make sure that you follow all of our different social media platforms. We have a YouTube page, we have Instagram, we have a Facebook, we have the devoted chat on the Grace Chapel Bedminster app that you can download. So there's a lot of different ways you can stay plugged in and know what's going on throughout the week or the month. And we use those platforms all the time. So if you want to stay updated and plugged in, make sure you like, subscribe, follow any of those platforms that work best for you. So we're going to actually go into the Psalms, and we're going to go into Psalms 1. And the next few weeks, we're actually going to go through Psalms 1. I'm only going to read Psalms 1 and 2 today because that's where we're going to focus. But we will be reading the rest of Psalms and kind of breaking them down. This is something that the Lord just placed on my heart yesterday, and I was just super excited to share it with y'all. So, anyways, I'm going to read it. So it says, "Blessed is the one who does not walk in step with the wicked, or stand in the way that sinners take, or sit in company of mockers, but whose delight is in the law of the Lord, and who meditates on his law day and night." I really like this because this is talking about our circle of influence and what is influencing us. So, what really stood out to me was verse 1, and it said, "Blessed is the one who does not walk in step with the wicked, or stand in the way that sinners take, or sit in the company of mockers." So, originally, if it just stopped at "blessed is the one who does not walk in step with the wicked," I've been like, yeah, we gotta be righteous. We need to be on the path that Christ is leading us, and not veer off in the wicked path. But I love how David goes further into this, that we shouldn't even be in passively around the way of a sinner, and being sitting in company of the mockers. And you might be like, well, we're always going to be around sinners, we're always going to be around mockers, like we can't escape it. But this is saying that this is like letting those environments influence who we are. And a lot of times I think we think that it goes from like we walk a path of righteousness, and then automatically when we do something wrong we walk a path of wickedness. And a lot of the times I feel like it's kind of this like gradual um like change, I guess, in our heart of going from maybe to a path of righteousness to maybe a path of wickedness. And what mean by that is that um a lot of times, at least what I've noticed in my life, is that I don't always go from like 0 to 100, but when I realized that when I finally realized that I'm walking in step that is not of God, it was this lead up of putting myself in environments or being in company with those that weren't godly, and letting those things influence me and then justifying them rather than being a voice of influence in that environment. And so that's what's kind of saying. And I can give you an example is pretty nearby, like recently, um, I was allowing certain people in an environment that I could not escape, but I was originally, and they would gossip, or they would, complain or vent or whatever. And I would be originally in that area with those people, in company with them, and I wouldn't engage. I was just there, and instead of leaving the environment, or trying to change conversation, or trying to be a voice of influence, um, or even just, yeah, being a light to those around me, I just kind of like was a bystander essentially. And I let it happen, whatever. And as time went on and I built like more rapport with these people. um it would continue to happen, and eventually over time I let those influences um influence me. And when I started building rapport with these people and becoming comfortable, then I started to engage in that. But it took some time. And and when I realized I was doing this was wrong was when someone called me out for it, and they're like, "That's gossiping, and that's not okay." And I was like, I kind of like did a retrospect, and I was like, "Wow, you're right. Like that is gossiping," and I allowed that environment to influence me. But it wasn't like I went and then just like walked in the step of the wicked. It was like I was standing in that path, and I was a bystander, and I was in their company, and I was just there. And then eventually, as time went on, I became more comfortable to then walk in a step that wasn't godly. And I'm so grateful that I was called out for it, and also that the Lord convicted me in my heart, because it was affecting my attitude. It was affecting just how, like, I was becoming more bitter, I was becoming more judgmental, and um, and those things are not characters that Christ gives us. And then I was becoming more snappy with people, and so affected over time. And it was because I stood in the way that sinners were walking, and I was allowing myself to be in an environment, and eventually over time, what those environments influenced me, that that then I was starting to take action in it, walking in that step that wasn't godly. And you might say, well, how can we then change an environment that we can't escape, or what if it's at my workplace, or what if I like we're always going to be around sinners, or we're always going to be around mockers or whatever. And so it's saying that um, the next part is saying, but those who delight in the law of the Lord and meditates on his law day and night will be blessed. And so that's how we can be an influence, is that in those environments that maybe we can't escape it. Yeah, we can't always be around people that are righteous and holy, or living living their faith out. We can't always be around those people all the time. We're going to be in places that are going to be environments that aren't godly. Um, and people are going to sin, and people are going to say or do things. But when we're in those places, we have to make sure that we're constantly delighting ourselves, our spirit, and who we are in the Lord, whether that's like through prayer, whether that's speaking out to that environment and being a light in that environment, even if you get chastised, whether it's removing yourself, whether it's um, praying over those people, or over that environment or that area. Um, Whatever it is, we should be constantly meditating on the Lord, meditating on his word and his spirit, and allowing those things to feed us and influence us, so that we can stand firm and not let the world influence us. So um, that's what I got out of it, and it just kind of like stood out to me, because I liked how I think a lot of times we can say like, well, I'm not walking in the step of the wicked, but what areas are we allowing ourselves to be bystanders in the world, and what areas in our lives that have we not delighted ourselves in the Lord, and we're justifying maybe worldly things, or we're we're being in a bystander around mockers or sinners or those that aren't living a godly lifestyle, and we're being passive in it, where it can be a dangerous spot where eventually we could be walking in step of the wicked in those areas of our life. So I challenge you guys to ask the Lord this week, areas in your life that maybe you're walking in step of the wicked, or you're being a bystander around the wicked or sinners or mockers, or just kind of being idle in that area, and not taking action and surrendering that to the Lord and delighting ourselves in the Lord in those areas of life. Because there's areas in our lives that we want to be in control in, or we let the world kind of take over, and we don't let Christ take over. And so ask God to reveal those areas in your life, so that we can be, um, I guess, so that we can have um, our faith just like be so present in all of our areas of life, but that we can experience joy and peace and goodness, and just like the gifts and characteristics of God in all of our facets of life, so that we can have this peace wherever we go, and that we can just live a better life with Christ while being on this earth. So, um, yeah, really spend this time to like ask the Lord what areas in your life are being influenced by the world and not by Him, and how you can delight yourself in the Lord each and every single day, and how you can surrender those things to Christ, so that you can live in peace and joy with Christ. So I love to hear what God tells you in this time, in your personal time this week. And I'm excited to like go more into this Psalms, but I think this one was like the most like eye-opening to me, because when before I like got called out for what I was doing, I like didn't even realize I was like doing it, and so I was like grateful for being called out, because it made me realize, and then like reading this verse, it made me realize I was like letting those things like influence me, and it was like very passive, like I was just a bystander. And now knowing what the word says in this, and also just the conviction, I became more alert and aware of like, okay, like what are my surroundings? Are they honoring God? If they're not, how can I honor God through this, in this environment? How can I be an influence in this moment? How can I be a light to those around me? Um, how can I maybe even remove myself, so that I'm not even tempted to engage in behaviors or actions that don't please God. So made me more aware of my environments and like the people around me, so that I'm can be more intentional of honoring God and delighting myself in the Lord. So I challenge you guys to do the same. I love y'all. I hope you have a great rest of your week and weekend. I hope to see you tonight at Devoted. Love y'all. Peace and blessings. Bye, guys.